Rain hammered against the glass walls of the downtown office tower as Nathan Cole stepped out of the elevator just past midnight, expecting the floor to be empty. Instead, he found his boss, Victoria Hayes, collapsed in the dim light of the executive lounge, one high heel lying near the leather sofa and a half-finished glass trembling in her hand. Her mascara had run in faint dark lines down her cheeks, and for the first time since he had started working under her, the woman everyone feared, the cold, flawless vice president who never smiled and never missed a deadline, looked heartbreakingly human. She tried to stand, but her knees gave way, and without a word, Nathan caught her before she hit the marble floor. In that silent moment, with thunder rolling over the city of Chicago, and the woman who had always seemed untouchable breaking apart in his arms, he realized this night was about to change both of their lives forever. Before we go deeper into this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of compassion, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more heart-touching stories like this to life. Nathan was 32, a hard-working project analyst who had spent the last 5 years building a life from almost nothing in Chicago, Illinois. He rented a tiny apartment on the west side, sent money every month to help his widowed mother in Ohio, and carried the invisible exhaustion of someone who had been fighting life since childhood. His father had passed away when he was 16, leaving Nathan to become the man of the house far too soon. Every promotion, every late night at the office, every sacrifice had been driven by a simple promise he had made at his father's funeral, that he would take care of his family no matter what it cost him. Victoria Hayes, on the other hand, was the kind of woman people whispered about in hallways. At 38, she had risen to one of the most powerful positions in the company, known for her sharp mind and impossible standards. To most employees, she was intimidating, almost ruthless. Nathan had often been on the receiving end of her criticism, staying late countless nights to revise reports she had dismissed with icy precision. Yet as he looked at her now, weak and trembling, something told him there was a story behind the steel walls she carried around herself. He draped his coat over her shoulders and gently helped her to the elevator. She barely spoke, only muttering an address between shaky breaths. The drive through the rain-soaked streets was silent except for the sound of windshield wipers and distant thunder. Nathan kept his eyes on the road, resisting the temptation to ask questions. He could smell the alcohol, but beneath it was the unmistakable scent of grief. When they arrived at her townhouse in a quiet neighborhood near Lincoln Park, Victoria could barely walk. Nathan supported her weight, guiding her carefully up the steps and inside. The house was stunning, filled with expensive furniture and polished surfaces, but it felt empty, too quiet, too cold, like a museum no one truly lived in. He helped her to the couch, brought her a glass of water, and draped a blanket over her before quietly leaving. He never expected to see her again outside the office, and certainly not the next morning. At 7:30 sharp, there was a knock on Nathan's apartment door. Still half asleep, he opened it to find Victoria standing there in a simple gray coat, her eyes swollen and red, tears clinging to her lashes. Gone was the sharp suit, the perfect posture, the intimidating presence. In front of him stood a broken woman holding herself together by the thinnest thread. She stepped inside slowly, her gaze lowered, and Nathan felt the air in the room grow heavy with something unspoken. Victoria began to explain in a trembling voice that last night had been the anniversary of her younger brother Christopher's death. 10 years earlier, he had died in a drunk driving accident after leaving a family dinner where they had argued. Her last words to him had been cruel, spoken in anger, and she had carried that guilt every day since. Every year on this date, no matter how successful or composed she seemed, she fell apart. Nathan listened in silence, his own heart tightening as he saw the weight she had been carrying alone. She confessed that when Nathan had helped her the night before without judgment, without taking advantage of her vulnerability, it had been the first time in years she had felt safe. She had come to his door because she needed to thank him, but also because she didn't know how to keep pretending everything was fine. For the first time in his life, Nathan saw that strength and pain often wore the same face. Over the following weeks, something began to shift. Victoria softened in the office. She still demanded excellence, but there was warmth in her eyes now, a humanity people had never seen before. Nathan, too, found himself changing. He had spent so long surviving that he had forgotten what it meant to truly connect with another person. One evening after work, Victoria asked Nathan to walk with her by Lake Michigan. The city lights reflected on the dark water as she spoke about the loneliness of success, about how wealth and power had never healed the wound inside her. Nathan shared his own story, his father's death, the burden of responsibility, the nights he lay awake wondering if all his sacrifices would ever mean something. The connection between them deepened, not through romance at first, but through shared pain. Then came the challenge that threatened everything. Rumors began spreading through the office. Co-workers whispered that Nathan was receiving special treatment. When a senior management position opened and Nathan was recommended for it, many assumed Victoria's influence was the reason. The promotion he had worked years for suddenly felt tainted. Nathan's pride and fear drove a wedge between them. He pulled away, refusing her support, determined to prove himself alone. Victoria, already haunted by guilt and self-doubt, took his distance as rejection. For weeks, the silence between them grew. Then, one cold December evening, Nathan received a call from the hospital. Victoria had collapsed from exhaustion. When he arrived, he found her sitting alone in the dim hospital room, staring blankly out the window at the falling snow. The sight broke something inside him. All the walls he had built around his own heart crumbled. He realized then that life was too fragile for pride. Nathan stayed by her side through the night, and in that quiet room, both of them finally let go of the pain they had carried for years. Victoria admitted that Nathan had reminded her that people could still be good. Nathan confessed that her vulnerability had taught him that strength wasn't about carrying everything alone. If this story is touching your heart so far, please take a moment to like, comment, and share this video. Stories like these remind us that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can save a life. Months later, Nathan earned the promotion through a company-wide review process, silencing every rumor. But more importantly, both their lives had changed in ways neither could have imagined. Victoria started a foundation in her brother Christopher's memory, dedicated to supporting families affected by drunk driving. Nathan helped her build it from the ground up, pouring into it the same dedication he once gave only to work. Together, they transformed pain into purpose. And one spring morning, standing outside the newly opened community center funded by the foundation, Victoria turned to Nathan with tears in her eyes. Not tears of grief this time, but of gratitude. Special request: comment below with the words, "Kindness changes lives," if you believe one small act of compassion can transform someone's future. As the sun rose over the Chicago skyline, Nathan looked at the woman who had once seemed so distant and realized that sometimes the most life-changing moments arrive in complete silence. A rainy night, a trembling hand, a door opened with kindness. What began as a simple act of carrying his broken boss home had become the beginning of healing for two wounded souls, and in the end they both discovered the same truth. Sometimes the people we save end up saving us too. If this story moved you, please like, comment, share, and subscribe before you go. Your support means the world, and your engagement helps keep these emotional stories alive for others who need hope today.